Welcome, listeners of Illusion, to Temporal Discussion, the episode-by-episode Nightmare retrospective podcast. I'm Martin Harder, and I am not well.
And I'm Martin Odoni, and I'm mightily impressed to see that Mr. H has convinced the greatest ever actor to play Lord Fee to take part in the podcast. Oh, and we have a guest too.
What? You talking about me?
That's not an actor, Mr. Odoni.
That's not an actor. I'm not entirely convinced that Odoni, you call him? I'm not entirely convinced that he's an actor, but carry on.
And I'm Kim Stewart-Crossley, and I'm too scared to do an intro.
Today we'll be looking at episode 3 of series 5. It was originally broadcast on CITV on September the 20th, 1991. Bryan Adams was still doing very little for us. With Everything I Do It For You, topping the charts. And Terminator 2 Judgment Day was enjoying the 6th consecutive week at the top of the box office.
Which meant that we weren't anymore by that point.
Evidently enough people were still enjoying it at the time.
You do wonder, actually, on a semi-serious though, how many people do you think actually went back and watched it again? I was struggling to think about why it was at the top of the charts for that long.
Back then, you usually had to wait about 6 months before the film came out on video.
It was longer than that. It was over a year. Nowadays, you get the DVD release the day after it's finished.
I think it depended on the popularity as well. Like, the more popular the film, sometimes the longer you had to wait to build up that anticipation, didn't you?
Also, cinema was still the big industry back then compared to what it's like now, where they want to rush everything onto streaming because that's where the money is.
You're listening to Temporal Discussion, bringing you the latest news from 1991.
A day earlier, on September the 19th, a remarkable discovery was made in the Ötztal Alps, nestled on the border between Australia and Italy.
Australia and Italy, wow!
I had to reread that 3 times before I realised it didn't say Australia.
Do you want me to read it, or do you want Kim? Actually, let's Kim read it. Let her pull her weight.
Let me butcher pronunciation, you mean. In the news, a day earlier on September the 19th, a remarkable discovery was made in the Ötztal Alps, nestled on the border between Austria and Italy. The mummified remains of a man, later named Ötzi, were found preserved in the ice, offering an extraordinary glimpse into prehistory. Ötzi is Europe's oldest known naturally preserved human mummy, believed to have lived between 3350 and 3105 BC. His discovery has become a cornerstone of archaeological research. Among the chilling details of Ötzi's life and death, one of the most striking features is the arrowhead found embedded in his left shoulder, suggesting that he may have been the victim of a violent attack.
Suggesting?
I read arrowhead in the... I was like, please say knee. Please say knee.
He may have been the victim of a violent attack.
It might have just been a gentle killing.
Maybe he was just holding the bow and arrow the wrong way round.
In addition to this fatal wound, his body bears several other injuries, hinting at a life marked by conflict or hardship. Poor guy. The precise cause of his death has spurred a wealth of research and speculation among scholars who continue to piece together the circumstances surrounding his untimely demise. But his well-preserved remains, along with his personal belongings, such as tools, clothing and weapons, offer valuable insight into his world. These artifacts are now displayed at the South Tyrol Museum of Archaeology in Bolzano, South Tyrol, Italy, where visitors can marvel at the remnants of a life that existed over 5,000 years ago, bridging the gap between the distant past and the present.
It's war!
What was happening in the aftermath of the Iraq War that week? Between September 21st and 30th, IAEA inspectors discovered files detailing Iraq's concealed nuclear weapons program. When the inspectors attempted to take the documents for further analysis, Iraqi officials, very, very not suspiciously, refused to allow them to leave with the sensitive materials. And this led to a rather tense standoff as both sides remained entrenched in their positions. The situation escalated until the UN Security Council formally intervened, threatening enforcement actions against Iraq if the issue was not resolved. This looming threat of international intervention finally broke the deadlock, forcing Iraq to comply. I reckon Saddam was doing one of his famous double bluffs there. He was making it appear that Iraq did still have a comprehensive nuclear program and making it look like he had something to hide. And that kept neighbours like Iran from taking advantage of Iraq's weakened state.
Still didn't really do him many favours, though, did it?
Well, I don't know. It meant he stayed in power for another 12 years. But anyway, that was this week.
Yes, I know everything.
Well said, your lordship.
Oh, you bootlicker.
What do you mean, bootlicker? That's the correct way of addressing me, Odoni.
Sorry, sir.
That's slightly better.
You do like bootlickers then?
I don't like bootlickers.
You don't like bootlickers?
Was that you trying to do a bad impression of me? Not very funny, was it? Next,
Do you want to host the podcast, Mr. Knight?
Mr. What?
Who's Mr. Knight?
Oh, I'm sorry, you're not a knight, you're a lord, aren't you?
Damn fine I am.
Yeah, Mr. Lord thing person.
Lord Thing Person? I don't think so, Odoni. Mr. Harder, would you step in and say something sensible?
On this podcast? Have you ever listened to this podcast?
Why in God's name would I listen to this podcast, Odoni?
Your fearship, I'm the sensible one and I can never get a word in edgeways.
Stay quiet for the first 4 years.
There's a reason for that.
And now time turns. The recording light burns. Timeout is gone. The podcast is on.
Great goblins, Pickle! The Watchers have arrived! Greetings, you lot. Pickle, get your elf brain down here. The team's ready to go and the dungeon's just about to unfreeze. Sorry about this.
Oh, good grief, Master. I'm all temporal disrupted. Where's the book? Where's the pen? Where am I?
Come now, Pickle. Get a grip on yourself and let's get to grips with this adventure.
Coming, Master, coming. Ah, here we are. This quest is for the cup that heals. Guiding it are Darren, Daniel, and James from Kent. Dungeoneer is young Richard Darty. He's about 12 minutes down the path into level 1.
Carrying anything?
Oh, yes, Master. A bunch of flowers and a pixie in a bottle. Oh, and they've just been accosted by that slimy vagabond Sylvester.
Very well, then. Let's see how they cope with old Sly. Game on!
As stated, Dungeoneer Richard begins the episode being manhandled by Sylvester Hands. After ascertaining that Richard has no weapons with which to protect himself, Sly offers to look after his possessions so that nobody steals them. The team prompt Richard to open the bottle, and when he does so, Pixel flies out.
There you are. What's this great smelly beef farts making this awful stinker? Go away, stinker. You spoiled my flowers. Go away.
Oh, it wasn't me! It wasn't me! Oh, mercy! Mercy, don't prick me no more, little fairy!
The empty bud. Pixel's a pixie. A pixie with a pricking needle.
Oh, get her off, your worshipness! Please get her off!
So this was before Sly Hands was quite as much of a snivelling wretch as he was in later episodes. Your Lordness, do you think it's because you hadn't quite broken him in yet?
Well, the man's an idiot, obviously. A slithering, blithering idiot. I never liked him. Who could like Sly Hands?
The audience did.
The audience is stupid. Let's say silly, because that's sweet, isn't it?
No, let's say stupid. You're right. You're quite right. Let's say stupid, yeah.
I was, wasn't I? Yes, I'm always right. So the audience liked him. That means about as much as a slug beneath my feet.
It seems like he was quite malleable.
Yeah, well, everyone's malleable to me.
I can imagine that being quite useful.
Yeah, let's go with useful. All of the people that I manipulated were useful.
Ah, because you're the puppeteer.
I don't like that term, puppeteer. It suggests I do things with my hands and their rear ends. And that is not the case.
Anyway, after Pixel pricks Sly Hand for a pricking needle, a scene that probably shouldn't be on children's television.
Prick seems to be a very useful word in this, but carry on.
Yes, Sly begs Richard to recall Pixel, saying that he can give him the password for level 1. Richard tells Pixel to get back in the bottle, and when she does so, Sly gives Richard the password, Samurai, before legging it.
Paul Valentine's timing is very good here. He reacts to Pixel attacks at precisely the right instant, so it looks convincing. But as we mentioned in last week's episode, he seems to forget as the scene goes on that he isn't playing Motley. So the voice he uses when he's discussing offering the password is definitely his jester voice.
Idiot. The man's a blithering idiot. A smelly idiot. Feet. Imagine a smell worse than feet. Add, let us say, crotches into the smell. And let's add a few weeks of crotch rot into that. And then I think you'll get a sense, the olfactory sense of dear Sly.
This explains why you always communicated from a distance then, your Lordness.
Good observation.
Your social distancing before it was popular.
Yeah, well, it was never really popular, was it? Plagues are just a joy. to me. Who wouldn't love a good plague that makes all you idiots run around squealing, flapping whatever you have to flap, and keeping away from each other? I love that.
If you're Blackadder, is Sly your version of Baldric, would you say?
Bugger that. Moving on.
After Sly leaves, Pixel re-emerges.
Everything smells nice again. Not going back in that smelly bottle. Never, never, never. Thanks for letting me smell your flowers. Bye.
Well, that unsavory, if not insanitary fellow was Sylvester Hands, Sly to his friends. I'm not sure that he has any. I'm not saying he'll be back, but I don't think Richard should linger.
Richard leaves via passive path through a door in the side of the building next to him.
Yeah, Richard is still dawdling. He really needs someone to give him a good kick up the backside. Lord F, did you volunteer to do that?
Oh, I'd love to do that.
Thought so.
Were there any Dungeoneers you particularly disliked more than others?
I can't remember them. Who would remember all these pathetic dweebs, I think is the word.
What about Barry from season 7, end of season 7?
Oh, yeah, I remember season 7 like I remember... I can't remember.
Yeah.
Season 7.
He was the guy who basically couldn't shut up.
Oh, I'm reminded of him in this little chat here, Mr. Odoni.
I'll just mute myself.
My God, it actually happened. He actually muted himself.
He did, yeah. I like that. I could have done it, of course. Reached out using some evil magic. Well, you think it's magic. To me, it's lifeblood.
Where have you been the last 4 years?
Stop, Richard. You look like you're in some sort of courtyard or something. And there's a barrel to your left. Food in it by the looks of it. And there's a brick wall in front of you.
Richard has arrived in the blogger's courtyard. The food gets knapsacked, and soon after...
Oh, quick, Richard! Oh, no.
Wait.
We don't need no stinking riddles. We barely need to think at all. All we need's a single password. That's all we need to beat this war. Hey, blocker! Leave us kids alone. All in all, you're just another face in a wall. All in all, you're just another face in a wall. Last word.
Say samurai.
Samurai.
Thank goodness they had the password, Master.
Yes, well, that's the exit. I should make for it very quickly.
Go forward.
They might make it to level 2 after all.
Stop. Turn left. Go forward.
This is a problem that I've stated before, and it's quite prevalent in this particular series, is that they will get a password or an object or something or a spell from someone, and then they will need to use it immediately in the next room. There doesn't seem to be anything to hold on to.
Are you looking for the word logic here, Mr. Harder?
Yeah, probably. I'm usually looking for the word logic, but
yeah, aren't we all?
Yeah.
There's no logic in this. There's no logic in the game. There seems to be. And sometimes somebody says, well, they have to do this, says Hugo or some idiot. And there's no logic.
Mr. Odoni, I can tell you're itching to say something. So moving on.
You're just going to have a backing track of me just giggling.
You can giggle. I like a good laugh. I like it when people laugh at the misfortunes of, say, others or Odoni, as I think of them.
Brilliant.
I like that too. When you say that I'm brilliant, you win my heart.
Well, Kim, it looks like you've pulled.
What does that mean? Pulled? What do you mean?
Yes, Mr. Odoni.
It means she's full of adoration and respect. For your
pull.
So I get the feeling that when it comes to wall monsters, Lord F is less tolerant than Mogdred was of them answering back.
Yes.
They literally can't say anything except password now.
Yeah, this is something that we wanted to bring up, actually, Your Lordness, regarding
Why are you
blockers.
two talking like Lizard, you pathetic little sycophants? Your Lordness.
I like a good sycophant.
Did you like Lizard then?
God, no.
No, well, he was a sycophant, so...
It's called manners, Mr. Odoni.
No, it's not, Kim. Anyone around me uses manners, I will rip out their bits. And by bits, I mean their nuts.
That's all right. Martin Odoni should be okay then.
Absolutely.
We were talking about this earlier. There seems to be a distinct difference between wall monsters and blockers. I believe it's that wall monsters are actually sentient creatures, whereas blockers are enchanted walls that are basically walls infused with magic. Would that be correct?
Sounds logical, doesn't it? We discussed logic earlier.
It must be wrong then.
Yep.
You and your stupid ideas, Mr. H. Shut up.
No, I don't want him to shut up. He makes a lot of sense. Not then, but no, carry on, Mr. Harder.
Am I to understand that anything I say, Lord F, you're just going to disagree with?
Or I'll say mute, please, Odoni.
You'd say please? And now we know that you're an imposter. Lord Fear doesn't say please to
I am no
anybody.
imposter.
You are an imposter.
I am no imposter. Anybody who thinks I'm an imposter will see the rough end of whatever spell I reach for.
Where am I? You're sort of in another courtyard and there's a monk or something.
Greeting. Top floor, haberdashery, necromancy, trainee dungeoneers, yes? Going down, are we?
Say yes. Yes.
Oh, I thought so. Favour me with your name, my young descendant. Descendant? Oh, that's good. It's your name, fair sir.
Richard has made it to the entrance to the Descender, where he is greeted by Brother Mace, or Brother Mace. Mace asks him how he's intending to get to level 2, and Richard answers that he is looking for a wellway.
Through a wellway? Oh, my dear fellow, no. Wellways are quite vieux jeu, old-fashioned, out-cut. We are now into high technology. This device, for example, the Descender. You'll notice I did not say lift, because that would be a ghastly anachronism.
The door to the Descender opens, revealing the mechanical apparatus. Mace draws attention to the fact he said Descender instead of lift, as that would have been a dreadful anachronism. I definitely can't roll that many R's, but perhaps not as dreadful as the existence of galvanized rubber ice packs in the dungeon dimension. Mace asks him if he knows what an anachronism is. Richard answers with, "What shall I say?" which appears to be his catchphrase.
We've made mention of this several times before, but this is the one who literally gets asked his name at one point and says, "What shall I say?"
It's just become something for the advisors to move around.
He actually embodies the stereotype of the dungeoneer rather than actually being a dungeoneer.
Yeah, he's just an avatar.
Puppet in a big bucket on his head. I love that. Who wouldn't love that?
After stumbling over his words quite a bit, including some genuinely funny facial expressions from Pickle, advisor Daniel eventually manages to explain that an anachronism is something that is a thing that belongs to or is appropriate for a different time period than the one in which it exists. Or, as Daniel puts it,
Say it's something from the past that shouldn't be. Something from the future in the past.
Something for the future in the past.
Correct! What a learned young fellow you are. Well, as this does not really belong in this time, so you no longer really belong on level 1. Now, come with me. This device is voice activated. To start it down, all you have to say is, "Down, boy." You know, like a Rottweiler. Like a Rottweiler! Oh, I'm in very good form today.
Mace tells Richard that he and the team must descend to the 7th stage and then shout "halt" to stop the Descender at the right level.
If this is Mace on good form, what's he like when he's having a stinker?
He loses the Joker.
Yeah, although that, yeah, that's yes, you're quite right.
Richard enters the Descender.
There's a wall in front of you. And
so we're going to use it like Brother Mason said. Going to say, "Shout down, boy." Down, boy.
And when I say now, shout stop.
Can't say Richard, come here.
4,
Interesting that Richard was actually listening, but the team weren't, because they tell him to shout stop, but he shouted halt, which is what he was told to shout.
Is that the epitome of his self-realization?
Yeah.
As a Dungeoneer.
Yeah. The apparatus grinds to a stop, and Richard is presented with 2 doors. The door on the right has a Fright Night emblem above it, so the team choose the door on the left.
Yeah, it's curious. It's never really made clear in these situations whether the door with the Fright Night image is the best or the worst option. In earlier years, when doors almost always had symbols on them, you'd have known that must be the one to avoid. But
yeah,
if the opposition are definitely on the path ahead, a Fright Night symbol could be seen as an indicator that it's the right way to go.
I would have seen that as go through door, get Fright Night, which nobody wants except you, Lord Fear, of course.
Absolutely.
Where am I? Right now, Richard, there's you're in a room, it's red, and there's 3 archways, and there's a massive playing card with J written on it, so I presume it must be a Joker. And there's a jester trying to keep still. So, what do you think?
Oh dear, it seems our old friend Motley has been rude to the wrong person again.
Yes, Master. Looks like someone's taken him out of the game.
Or put him back into one.
Here!
Are you going to do
Are you going to get me out of this, or what?
The Dungeoneer has arrived in the Deerhead chamber with the purple light shining through the windows. Motley is trapped inside a giant Joker playing card. He tells Richard that the opposition have put a curse on him. To break it, Richard needs to name the game that gets him back into the game.
Now, some people say that Motley is an absolute card.
Can I just say, on the subject of purple glows, I was at Leeds Castle yesterday. I noted the distinct lack of purple glow apart from where they had the Christmas lights up.
Yeah, there's also no big red sign next to the door saying challenge. So I'm pretty sure they didn't film it there. I think that's conclusive, don't you?
I must admit, when I first saw this as a kid, like Motley just sat in that card absolutely blew my tiny mind.
Of all the things on Nightmare that could really catch your imagination, it's Motley crouching on a playing card.
It's actually quite a good effect, I think.
Yeah.
Lord Fear, you must have some opinions on Motley.
Why would anyone have an opinion about somebody who sits in a card and then jumps out and goes, woo?
My thoughts exactly.
Well, apparently you're the one who put him there, so I assume he must have done something.
Yeah, the man took Fool to a new level.
Some might say that it takes this team a bit of an inordinate amount of time to actually get the answer Snap, but when I grew up, I never played Snap with actual playing cards.
It was always a card deck that had 2 of each image, wasn't it?
I think, in all honesty, this just seemed like a team who were very, very scared of getting it wrong. Just absolute cautiousness. And while I can understand that, it probably seemed a lot shorter time for them than it was for us watching it. The team are genuinely stumped with no clue whatsoever. After much conferring, the team can only think of one card game.
Think, Gormless. What's the simple game where the Joker takes all? Hurry up.
What is it? I don't know. Simple game with the Joker takes all.
It's so easy. What are we going to do?
Well, they're simple games.
Oh.
The Joker takes all.
Yeah?
Richard, do you know? No. Oh, no.
Oh, come on, help us. Come on.
Well, it must be a card game,
Card
mustn't it?
game.
Yeah.
Come on. Oh, you look like a bright chap. Oh,
simple.
What's it going to do? Oh, come on. I'm in agony and I can't move.
Shout Snap.
Pardon?
Snap.
Snap!
Oh!
Yes, well done, Darren.
You certainly took your time, didn't you? Oh, dear.
After asking Richard his name, Motley says he's going to call him Dickie. He laments that Dickie isn't very clever, to which Dickie readily agrees. He then leads Dickie, little Dickie, out of the room and into a passive path which leads to a portal.
Gratitude was never Motley's strong point, was it? It's just, he'd just been released and he just insults him.
Oh, dear. Are you feeling tired, Dickie?
No.
No? Oh, Dickie with a D.
Ah!
The unspoilt beauty of the emerald greenwood. The fresh air, can you smell it? The sounds of birds and other little creatures. Can't stand it myself. I tell you what, we'll start a fire and wait for someone to bring us some supper. That's a good idea.
Break another bough, little man, and I'll skewer you. Tear another leaf, and I'll make you look like a dead hedgehog.
Oh, no offence, I'm sure. Poor Dickie. You don't know what you're missing under that hat. The last time I saw something as beautiful as this, I dreamed it was me birthday.
Motley seems to have gotten over his infatuation with Melly now, as he introduces himself to Gwendolyn. Despite him putting the riz on her, though, she's not a big fan.
Oh, get lost, you undersized vandal. The Dungeoneer can stay. But if you stay, you'll be shafted.
Oh, I think I'm in love. Oh, I think I'm in danger.
So with that, Motley leaves. Gwendolyn introduces herself to Richard and tells him that the powers that be have allowed her limited discretion to aid adventurers.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know why she'd want to.
She tells him that he can find supplies in Ariadne's glade, which he'll be able to use to bribe his way up to the gate tower. She also tells him to seek out Oakley the tree troll, wake him up, and please him to get the level 2 password. She says to look for a big oak tree and shout loudly.
Everybody got that? Good!
Gwendolyn bids farewell and leaves. The team check out the tree stump in the middle of the clearing, but sadly, there's nothing but firewood on it.
I should just mention, when Gwendolyn leaves, a thank you would have been nice, Dickie. There's something about that scene really does sum up why I'm not a fan of Juliet Henry Massey. She really is just reading out loud there, or at least she's just going through what she was told to memorize.
Nothing the matter with that.
I've often thought that she didn't really improvise very well.
She's still quite new at this point, though, isn't she?
Yeah, but she never really got any better.
Interesting opinion.
That's apparently what I'm here for, is to throw opinions at Mr. H.
Yeah, but the interesting part is new.
Yeah, you're right. Misuse of words there.
I just want to put this on record, okay?
No, can we please move on?
No, shut up.
Oh.
You lot have been going at me every time I speak up, all right? So I don't want ever to hear you lot saying again that I'm the disruptive one on here, okay? You lot are constantly bitching at me. You've been doing it non-stop all day, all right?
It's because we love you.
You're not including me in that, I hope.
Oh, no, certainly not. No.
Go on, Kim. Say your piece.
Thank you, Lord Fear. The team check out the tree stump in the middle of the clearing. There's nothing but firewood on it. A goblin horn sounds to hurry the team along, and they guide Richard through the awaiting portal. What was the point of having Motley there?
I've been asking that ever since the start of season 3.
He did nothing. He literally took them to the passive path and talked over it a bit. That was it.
Which the Ice Shield could have done for them. No actual positive function, if anything, getting in the way.
Damn good show, that man.
Was he secretly working for you?
Sometimes.
Where am I? Richard, you're in the forest. There's a tree trunk with clues on it, but above you there's a web, so you think we're in Ariadne's lair. Yeah. So what's on the tree trunk?
There's some bread, a spyglass, gold, and a horn.
Now, I got overexcited here because we were going to see Ariadne again. I love Ariadne, but I was a little bit disappointed with this bit. Ariadne's glade is a little disappointing compared to her previous lodgings. It's just another woodland clearing with a spider's web above it and a generic portal at the back. Richard knapsacks the bread and picks up the spyglass.
I miss her original lair from season 2.
Yeah.
The one in season 4 at least was spread over 2 locations, but this is, as you say, a bit nothingy. Still, it's new. That at least means it's something fresh. That doesn't last for more than one appearance.
Right, put the bread in your knapsack and put the spyglass in front of the eye shield.
No time for that. Ariadne will be upon you. Just take it.
Take it! And the horn! And the horn! And the horn! Quickly, run! Go forwards! Forward! Stop! Sidestep! To your right! To your right! Go forward!
So, we're going to have an appearance from some vague unimportant character.
Yeah, Scarkill.
Yeah, Scarkill, that's what I meant, yeah.
It's nice to get a bit of old-fashioned directional panic again here, isn't it?
Something scary happens in the first half of level 2.
Yeah, I do love it when they get all panicky and just start shouting directions.
I get this mental image of the advisors kind of just crashing into each other, like in Labyrinth, when all little things are running through the maze and they just crash and fall.
Oh, my aching tushy!
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's always when the advisors start shouting over each other. That's always been the mental image.
Yeah.
Of course.
The best times for it is, I think, whenever your Lordness puts your hand in the pool of veracity and you start kind of following them around the room with your hand. That's the best times when they proper panic.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's fun.
Yeah.
Well, for me, and for you, apparently, too.
Yeah.
Not so much for them.
They love it. You got to remember, kids, especially at that age, love being scared. That is the best bit of childhood, is when you're really scared in a fantasy way. They love it more than anybody.
Fantasy? What do you mean?
Well, it's all an illusion, isn't it?
No.
Oh, okay.
It depends who you talk to and which series.
You're contradicting yourself this time, Fia.
What?
Tragar contradicts it himself several times.
There's no logic to it, as I say.
He spent the first 4 series saying, it's only a game, and he starts this one with, you must stop thinking of it as a game.
After the directional panic is resolved, Port leads to a passive path through the woods to Oakley's Glen.
Richard, you're outside a big oak tree. So I think we've got to call for Oakley here.
Oh, first things first, team.
Yeah.
Let's have a look through that spyglass.
Yeah, but before you do, put the spyglass in front of the eye shield.
Listen, Scarkill, I don't pay for excuses, I pay for solutions. Preferably violent solutions.
Richard uses the spyglass and we see a dashingly handsome figure in skeletal armour.
Imposter.
What?
I said, imposter.
You nasty tasting piece of goblin! Fodder! And after they've had a munch at you, it'll be my turn.
I liked that.
I just went with dashingly handsome figure in skeletal armour.
She's right.
I read what was written. Mr. Harder wrote it as well, so...
It's actually Mr. Harder who thinks that of you.
Yeah, but Kim said it.
Yeah, but Mr. Harder wrote it. These are his sentiments. These are his feelings for you.
Yeah, but Kim said it.
You wouldn't have liked it if he'd said it.
Go on, Mr. Harder, have a go. You say it.
Okay. Richard uses a spyglass and we see a dashingly handsome figure in skeletal armour.
No, that was very... I prefer Kim.
Yeah.
But one is not averse to a little subtlety when the occasion suits. A cunning trap can bring a tinge of satisfaction when it snaps shut. Now, do you understand what to do?
Well, of course I does, your fearship, your lordship. With the aid of Gripper and Rock, I tracks them down, and then I claps the irons on him. Lovely. Then I gives you a call. Just one thing. How do I get across the causeway if they're already across it?
I wonder if you can follow the simplest of instructions, Scarkill. Follow the color code, Scarkill. Red, blue, green, and grey. Or you won't live to see the day. There. And, Scarkill.
Yes, my lord.
Let's hope you're not colorblind, shall we? Away you go. My security systems have reported a form.
Put it down, Richard. Put the spyglass down.
I have to say, your lordship, I'm not really impressed with your security system. Was it McAfee or something?
Was it what?
McAfee.
What? There's some virus killer? I'd like to see any virus killer try and kill anything I set up.
You invented COVID-19, didn't you?
Well, it was COVID-16 at first.
Oh, right. Okay. So it was that one, right? Okay.
Early days. Well, I let it go and it did what it did. I had nothing I could do about it, which was a good thing.
I keep catching it, so now I know who can blame for it at last.
You suffer from long COVID?
Yes. Yes, I have.
Yeah, it's a terrible thing, isn't it?
It
I
is.
see it in much of your work.
Yeah, thank you.
So this would probably be a good time for us to pose some of the questions to you, your lordship, that some of our listeners have put forward.
Oh, I'm looking forward to this. so much.
The Patreon supporter Peter Pulsford asks, did you have any luck recruiting Dungeoneers to switch sides like Mogdred did?
Luck doesn't come into it. I mean, they either do it or they don't. And if they don't, they disappear.
Another patron supporter, Peter Sidon, says, Your Lordship, which of your minions did you find the least helpful and which was the most helpful?
Well, it's on a moment-to-moment basis. Sometimes they're useful. Sometimes they're helpful. Mostly, they're fumbling idiots. Mostly.
Which one would you say was the least fumbling idiot? Probably yourself, actually.
What?
The least fumbling and the least idiots. The non-idiot.
Shall I hand you a shovel, Martin?
Yeah. It's deep enough. Jump in head first, Mr. Odoni.
I'm rather liking this. I've become Lord Fear's greatest enemy.
Oh, don't build yourself up thinking you're my greatest enemy.
Well, you're using an awful lot of time and insults on me, so...
Why not? You're there.
Yeah, but these two are here as well.
Well, I like Kim, and I like Mr. Harder.
Twitter user Danger to Bananas asks, are Mogdred and Morgana your parents?
No.
That's conjures up quite an image, doesn't it?
Well, the image of them coupling is not a good image.
Who were your parents, if you don't mind me asking?
I do.
Twitter user RuggyBoy101 wants to know, oh Lord lots of S's, would you rather fight 100 duck-sized horses or one horse-sized duck?
Asking the real questions, RuggyBoy101.
First, let me say, what a ridiculous choice of handle. And secondly, I forget the question. It was about a big duck like a horse, or a big horse, or lots of horses, or lots of... Have you nothing better to do, Rookie Boy 101? Have you nothing better to do than sit there and think of ridiculous questions? Which one would I like to kill? I'd like to harm them all.
Twitter user MZ asks, can you let me out? By the way, that is way too many E's in your name. Asks, can you let me out, please? It's dark, I'm hungry, and it stinks of tuna in here.
I believe I can answer that one. No.
Well, since you don't want me to answer, I won't. Do you want me to answer?
Yes, please, Your Lordship.
Good. Can we shut up the donut for a moment? Good. So, Emma, your question was?
Can you let me out, please? It's dark, I'm hungry, and it stinks of tuna in here.
If it smells of tuna, eat the tuna.
Yeah, that's true. Have you accidentally left her in Lissard's room?
It doesn't matter to me where I left her, or if I left her, or if she's imagining something. Do what you want. You're in the dark. You've got a smelly room. You're in the dark, and it's dark and hungry. Work on your syntax, darling.
Well, what she actually said is, it's dark, I'm hungry, but Martin Harder is really bad at reading.
Wow.
Well, if you'd said that, I would have had something even more insulting to say.
So we have podcast team member Jake Collins wants to know what you thought of your Series 8 outfit and whether you preferred it to your original armour.
No, the original armour was best. Always. And by the way, Jake, good choice of name. So much better than so many C's, so many Z's, so little time. Dear God, these people.
Jake would also like to know if you still use your shell phone and if you ever met Merlin or Mogdred.
I'd sneak up on them. I'd spy on them. That phone, what a big lump of rubbish that was that they dumped me with. I forget who gave it me now. It didn't work.
Well, it was a mobile phone from the early 1990s. Of course it didn't work.
We also have friend of the podcast, Rosie Collins, who asks, when did you meet Count Brincator and how did you become friends with him? Mr. Harder, you might have to give some context for me on that one.
Count Brincator is an unseen character in Series 6, whose castle apparently overlays with parts of Level 2 in that series. Rosie's delving into some of the deeper lore.
Not that deep, really. Brincator didn't exist. Brincator was a device to move things on in what they call plot terms.
How well did you know his wife?
I'm a gentleman. A gentleman never tells.
At this point, the conversation took a weird turn. We can't actually keep in what was said, but it involved a gourd full of water, a vine, a well-known figure, and an orifice.
Now we can't mention that in the podcast, for God's sake. Kim, Drive on.
Having put the spyglass down, Richard calls out to Oakley with, "Awake, oh great one." Oakley's face slowly appears on the tree.
A face has come on the tree, Richard. Yeah.
Leaf and Glen, but I've overslept. I've budded. I've leafed. Prune me, but I've missed spring. I've gone and slept through the best time of the year.
It's not looking as good as it used to, is it?
No, it's quite sad.
Clifford Norgate is still using the black paint that he used in season 4. It doesn't actually match up with the tree. The tree is further away from the camera than it was in season 4, so he looks less dominant. So it's sort of like the original War Monsters compared with Golgarak. Golgarak filled an entire wall, so he towered over the Dungeoneer. And originally, Oakley towered over the Dungeoneer, but he's so far off now, he's sort of about the same size.
You kind of get the idea, though, that they actually filmed the Oakley stuff before they knew which photo they were going to use.
I mean, I don't think that can be true, because I'm pretty sure that was what they saw whilst they were filming. And Norgate is definitely reacting to what Richard says.
Yeah,
so,
that's true. That's true.
But it does feel a bit odd, doesn't it?
Here. Who are you?
Richard's answer to this question is representative of everything we consider wrong in a bad Dungeoneer. The tone in Daniel's voice when he replies suggests he agrees.
What shall I say? Tell your name.
Yeah.
Richard.
Tell him your name.
I've just written in the notes here, for f***'s sake.
Yeah.
Fair comment.
They're nervous kids, but yeah, no. And what have we got here, gents?
A riddle!
Good old-fashioned riddle contest.
But it's not 3 riddles, it's 1 riddle.
Just one.
Go on then, Martin. Now do your Oakley voice.
Which mother is my mother and your mother?
And the answer is, of course,
Mother Nature.
And they got that right.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I don't mean brilliant. It's riddles for kids. Why couldn't they ask something difficult? Why couldn't they ask something about, I don't know.
Quadratic equations.
Oh, too easy. No, something really difficult.
When we have a riddle like this, we usually delve a little deeper into the answers just as a bit of extra information for people. Mother Nature, or Earth Mother, personifies nature's life-giving and nurturing qualities, often depicted as a mother or goddess. The earliest known reference to Earth as a mother comes from I can't read my own typing.
Well, then move to the end. Do the last line. It's better.
The Mycenaean Greeks?
That's the one. The Mycenaean Greeks, where Mother Gaia appears in the 13th or 12th century BC. In various cultures, Earth is revered as a powerful nurturing force. Greek mythology sees Demeter succeeded her grandmother Gaia as the goddess of the earth.
Well, Algonquian legend speaks of an Earth Mother who nourishes all life.
Thank you.
We can go further back. Pre-Hispanic Mexican
please
culture, as
don't.
noted by Teodula Elemenclator.
Please don't go further back.
I agree.
I feel we have trespassed on the world of boredom.
In all honesty, everything seems to agree that putting faith in Mother Nature is the key to living in harmony with the world.
Yeah, how's that working out for the human race right now?
Just one riddle today. Oakley tells the team that the password is leaf mold.
Go forward, Richard.
Hold up the eye shield.
Sidestep the left.
There you go.
Sink through the eye shield again.
You
Go
go
back on the
across
dirt track.
and just let the eye shield do its course, I think.
Do we want to have any guesses at what leads Richard to another portal?
No, thanks.
It's a passive path.
To be fair, having been to Leeds Castle yesterday, and it was like literally a 15-minute walk from the castle to various other parts, I can kind of understand why they did the passive paths.
There.
Richard?
Yeah?
You're in a room and there's a wall in front of you and there's a table to your left.
I think it's food.
It's
so
food, so
sidestep to your left.
Can you see it?
Can you see the food? Yeah. Go up to it. Is it food?
Is it food?
Yeah, it's food. Put it in your
Right,
knapsack
put it
then.
in your knapsack. Is there anything
There's
else
also
on
there's
there?
there's also a wall.
Yeah, that could be where the monster comes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Rootin' Fen, Master. It's a blocker, and a particularly nasty one by the look of it.
On and on, you're just another face in a wall.
The level 2 blocker area features a different castle wall to the left, but the CGI wall is much the same. This blocker itself has a more rounded appearance to its features, though.
Password. Say leaf mould.
Leaf mould.
Quickly out, team.
Sidestep to your right.
The door in the wall.
Go forward.
Having satiated the blocker, the team guide Richard out.
Pretty routine stuff. I do quite like the meaner features on the blocker's face, though, because it does give the feeling that the team are heading into more dangerous territory now. Did you design the blockers to look nastier and nastier the further down the dungeon people went, Mr. Lord Ship?
Yeah, that's better. No, some other pathetic crumbling fool designed those. They always did. Design's not really my area.
Okay, it's just accumulation.
Yeah, they don't know what they're doing. I let them do it, but they don't know what they're doing.
That is how one generates data for science. You don't know what you're doing and you just do something.
I thought science was slightly more rigorous than that.
So did I.
In its incredibly basic form, we don't know this thing. Let's find out about it.
Yeah, but that's science, isn't it? What we do is we don't know a thing, and we look at a thing, we posit a theory, and then we gather the evidence, and we say, this explains what is happening, what has been observed. And then what do? We do it again.
And in all honesty, science has still not explained Martin Odoni.
Now that I will agree with.
Richard, stop. Right, you're on a floor puzzle, okay?
Right.
So we're going to have to use this colour code, okay? So just obey every instruction, okay?
Okay.
Right.
Obey every instruction has to be the most redundant instruction ever given in Nightmare.
It does say to me that they need to enforce it within him that he needs to do this, because he has been a bit dawdly and a bit bumbly and all of that.
It goes without saying that the engineer has to obey every instruction because he can't flipping see anything. But also, Richard is so completely without any sense of initiative that he won't even answer the question, what's your name, without his advisors telling him what his name is. Of course he's going to obey every instruction. Be as precise as possible, okay, but obey every instruction? Isn't that the whole point of the game?
The team has made it to the level 2 causeway. The path consists of coloured hexagonal blocks, each bearing a Fright Night emblem. The first block is red, and the team guide Richard onto it. They now have a choice of blue or grey. Remembering the colour code, they guide him onto the blue block.
Turn slightly to your right. Sit. Go forward. Stop. Yes, go forward. Stop. Turn right. Stop. No! Left. Sorry.
The next choice is between green and grey. Despite some left-right confusion, they're a team on Nightmare after all, they managed to get Richard onto the green block.
I reckon left-right confusion has probably killed more teams than anything else. Wouldn't you say, Lord Fear?
Yeah.
Therefore, not you.
Yeah, they should. Well, they're going to be confused.
Yeah. He sets up the opportunity for them to be confused, Martin. That's what it does.
Oh, you bloody sycophant.
Better a sycophant than an imposter?
Yes. Well said, Jim.
Go left. Go forward. A little more. That's it. Keep going. Big starts. Okay, stop. Where's Grey? Oh, yeah, keep going forward. Stop!
Next up, grey or blue. The team managed to get Richard onto the grey block, but it's clear that the pressure is getting to them.
Turn to your right. Stop. No, turn to your left a little. Go forward. Stop! Turn to your left. Stop. Go forward. That's it, keep going. Stop. Go, keep going forward. Stop. Yes, keep going.
Yeah, and then it's green or red. The team go for red.
Yeah, keep going, quick, run. Richard?
Yeah?
We're standing at the ice shield.
Yeah?
You're going up some stone steps. The walls are made of big rocks. Looks like you're in a castle.
No, looks like you're on the...
Yeah, you're in the
walkways of the
battlements now.
Yeah.
You're heading towards the door. We're looking out over the castle. You can see the courtyard. Long way down. You're now heading into a door.
You do wince during that scene every time Richard moves on to the next hexagon because he's moving so slowly. You're afraid he's not going to completely leave the previous one quickly enough.
Leave his heels dangling over the edge.
But in fact, in all fairness to the team, the guidance is generally pretty sound. It's just the progress is in spite of Richard rather than because of him.
There's later causeways where they have the Fright Night.
Oh, the timer.
I don't think that he would have coped with those as well.
Richard, you're in a stone room. I think there's a big archway and a door, and there's something in front of you.
Richard has entered a generic-looking ruined castle chamber. Series 5 utilised many castle ruins in England and Spain, so it's quite difficult to ascertain which particular real-world location this is. The thing that's in front of him appears to be a large rock. Before the team can do anything else, though...
Right, gotcha. Starkill's caught you, hasn't he, eh? Lovely. My, but his lordship will be pleased. I just hope he shows his appreciation this time.
So Starkill is at least a step more sinister than Sly Hands, I'd say.
I found him quite scary as a kid.
Basically, he's an open torturer, so there's plenty to be nervous about.
Would you say, Lord Fear, that he was one of your better underlings?
Very good, I thought. A little bit twitchy, a little bit snivelling. I like that.
He did seem to be complaining a lot about needing more, what's the word? Resources, yeah.
Always needs me to remind him how to finish a sentence as well. You know, very obvious who should be the real host of the show.
I've been very ill. I almost ended up in hospital.
Again.
He always moans about being ill. I mean, really, if he had a decent constitution, this wouldn't be a problem, but, you know.
I think we should leave it all up to Kim.
Why, thank you.
You're welcome.
If it was all down to me, you'd have confusion and chaos, but that's not necessarily a bad thing.
I like that.
But anyway, Scarkill. He asks Richard if he has anything to say before he claps the irons on him. The team do try to talk their way out of the situation, telling Scarkill that Richard is nothing but a humble dungeoneer. Aren't we all?
I mean, that seems like a stupid thing to say, really, because a humble dungeoneer is exactly what Scarkill's looking for.
Yeah, so he sort of cunningly goes disguised as himself.
You don't want me, I'm just a dungeoneer.
Oh, you're quite right.
The bell master. They've been saved by the bell. It's all right, 'cause I'm saved by the bell.
Saved? I'm not so sure of that, Pickle. Whatever fate has in store for them, it can only be postponed. Still, temporal disruption has put their troubles into cold storage. And as for you lot, you'll just have to wait until time turns to learn what happens. What's more, you can stop gloating and ask yourselves, if it were me, how in the underworld would I get out of this one?
The credits roll over footage of Smirnoff flying over what I believe is the North Sea. I was just making sure Martin Odoni couldn't interrupt me on that one.
I've got a note here saying, we say, how do you get out of this one? Kick Scarkill in the nuts.
This isn't Series 8 of Red Dwarf, mate.
At this point, it seems Lord Fear's audio stopped recording. And, of course, we didn't find out until I went to edit this. I guess even the Techno Sorcerer has some trouble with technology sometimes. But that's pretty much the end of the podcast anyway, with just the admin left to do.
You can follow us on Twitter, we're at NightmarePod, and our Mastodon is topspicy.social/@NightmarePod.
We're also Nightmare Pod on Threads, and our Instagram is Temporal Discussion, all one word, no hyphen.
And you can also now follow us on Blue Sky, where we're nightmarepod.bsky.social.
If you want to support the podcast, we are Nightmare Pod on Patreon.
Speaking of Patreon, here's a shout out to Keepers of the Book of Quests, David N. Rabbit, Paul McIntosh, Peter Paulsford, and Scott Evans.
Advisors, Benjamin Bloom, David Thompson, Kim Harder, which is a silly surname, Kim Stewart-Crossley, who's she? Lord Entropy, where the O is A0, Paul Craddy, Peter Sidorn, and Pig Venus.
And let's not forget Dungeoneers Pete Courage, Dan Heath, and Adam Battersby.
If you support us on Patreon at Dungeoneer level or above, you'll get your name mentioned on the podcast. Higher level perks also receive merchandise, have access to exclusive episodes, and if you pledge as a Keeper of the Book of Quests, we'll even offer you the chance to be a guest on the podcast.
Our website is nightmarepod.co.uk.
If you're looking for Temporal Discussion merchandise, including t-shirts, stickers, and other products, it's nightmarepod.redbubble.com.
You can email us at podcast@nightmarepod.co.uk.
And just keep telling yourself, it's only a podcast.
Goblin fucker!
Shut up.